Welcome to the Trailhead from UltraSignup, where big adventures begin. Trail running is so much more than just a sport. It's a community, a culture, a way of seeing the world. On this show, we're not dissecting splits or debating shoe specs. We're here to get to the heart of it all, the people, the places, and the stories that speak to the soul of the sport. Join me, Zoe Rome, and my co-host, Brendan Leonard, as we'll bring you conversations with the everyday athletes, local legends, quirky characters, and creative minds who make trail running what it is. Messy, joyful, gritty, and deeply human. Because it's not just about chasing finish lines. It's about the friendships forged on long climbs, the lessons learned in the pain cave, and the weird, wild moments that remind us why this sport is about so much more than the miles. This episode of The Trailhead is part of the UltraSignup podcast network, your home for the best stories, humor, and conversations in trail and ultra running. Start your run with The Trailhead with me and Brendan Leonard, a mix of humor, heart, and real runner questions. Go deep with the buzz with Buzz Burrell as the FKT legend breaks down the culture and ideas shaping endurance sports. And when you need a laugh, there's Between Two Pines, a running podcast for people who think running podcasts are kind of stupid. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, The Trailhead and The Buzz are now on YouTube. Find it all at ultrasignup.com/podcast.
This episode of The Trailhead is brought to you by the folks at Running Warehouse, who would like to remind you that it's getting colder outside, which means when you run, some of your body parts might get cold. And that Running Warehouse sells products that will help you keep those body parts from getting cold, which will make it harder for you to make excuses why you didn't run today or yesterday, or why you cut your run short this morning. Anyway, if you'd like some help, Running Warehouse has dozens of models and sizes of inventions like jackets, hats, and gloves that will keep you warm, and also headlamps and reflective gear, since if you live in the Northern Hemisphere like 80% of the world's population, you may have noticed that it is dark outside more often in the winter, and you might like to see while you run and be seen by other people. I assume Running Warehouse is sending me a gift package of some of these items, I guess, since they're sponsoring me. Or actually, no, it looks like they're sponsoring this podcast. Never mind. Okay, anyway, Running Warehouse. Great.
Brendan, what is Brendan running culture? Your personal running culture.
Personal running culture. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I run into it on the internet and during events I go to or participate in. I feel like it's more like community.
Yeah.
Than culture. I don't know. There's I actually don't know what it is. Maybe we should talk to somebody else about that. I feel like I like so much of what I do is like my running is just a very solitary thing that I do. You know, how many miles a year do I run to run like 2 or 3 races? You know,
Yeah.
It's like most of the time I'm running by myself in the woods or on the riverfront path here, and like, so I don't know how much culture I see. Maybe some t-shirt slogans and
Yeah. I mean, you and I both live in, I guess, not exactly bustling metropoli. I live in Carbondale, which is a town of like 7,000 people on a good day, 7,000 people sopping wet. And I wouldn't say have like necessarily a robust run culture, but we would definitely have a robust culture of people who are absolutely not at all interested in the idea of run culture, which makes them exactly my kind of people. Like taking a break from like, you know, every day having to wake up and stick my head into the acidic vat that is online running culture. And then, you know, getting to go to like, I'm quasi-religious about attending my community run club, which is like teachers and moms and like actually like weirdly a lot of very young farmers are very present in our run club. And like one of my best running partners is a urologist, which is actually sneakily extremely helpful to have in your back pocket, and like PTs and like a whole other random assortment of people that I feel like make up my personal run culture.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, we should have some of those people on the podcast. Really
Ash, the urologist, coming soon.
Yeah. And you know, like I think there are clubs here where I live in Missoula, and there's this whole road running culture that I don't, you know, like The road running I do is like I commute. I take my kid to preschool and then I drop the stroller off at home and I run some more on the road. But it's like I think I put on road running shoes like 1 or 2 days out of 5. But it's like, do you engage with it or not? And like that's part of the community I maybe don't engage with that much. And I
Yeah,
really like my alone time as a
same.
dad of a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
oh,
it's wild to me. The idea of run clubs sounds intriguing, but again, living in such a small town, the idea that there are run clubs premised on anything other than you are a runner who lives in this zip code is like kind of what like the idea that these have like slightly like there's like the brewery run club and then like the ladies run club and then like the whatever XYZ like early morning run club and then like the super hip more streetwear adjacent run club is like such a wild idea to me because we have club. That's all we have.
club. Yeah, I think like running the New York City Marathon, I believe the aid stations and like I believe those are run by run clubs.
Yeah.
And like my favorite, I think people used to say the Bronx was like the quietest part of the New York City Marathon, but it's like the 3 times I've done it, there's the Boogie Down Bronx runners, I believe that's what it's called, are under this overpass and have the best music and it is the best energy. And it's like right around, I want to say like mile 18-ish. Maybe it's later than that, but I look forward to it every single time. It
Yeah.
is like my favorite part of that
Yeah.
race. But
Good
yeah, in
music,
a big
good
city, it's like
vibes.
you got to break it down a little bit and like
Got to
get
break
in,
it down. You
find,
got to get more specific than like, do you
yeah,
have a pulse and a pair
yeah,
of running shoes? And
yeah,
we're flexible on the running shoes.
yeah. And some of them are fast in big cities too.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a legit, real, like I would not be able to go. I wouldn't be able to do it. Not that
Yeah.
fast. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Um,
today we're talking to Raziq, who has the Running Sucks Substack, the Sucks newsletter, and he writes a lot about running culture.
both cooler than both of us probably put
Yeah.
together. Let's just
Yeah.
be honest there.
I feel
Yeah.
sometimes technologically overwhelmed by the self-checkout, so I'm probably not the best arbiter of like what is cool in running culture anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Better to know than to try and
Exactly.
fail.
Hi, my name is Raziq Rauf. I write about running over at Running Sucks, which is a newsletter on Substack. And I also have a dog who you'll hear running around behind me every so often, maybe barking if someone delivers something. The 2 children that also live with me are not here at the moment.
Fantastic.
You have we'll touch a little bit more on your career in a second, but I'm curious to hear a little bit about how you came to running.
How I came to running, I've always been running for some reason or another. I started at school doing 400 meters and 800 meters track. And then cross country from there. I was on the cross country team at school, but then went to university and just got drunk a lot, really. Not very athletic.
Where was school? Where were you running track and cross country?
That was in Northeast London. So, yes, to
It's
situate
not
myself.
an LA accent we're
Yeah,
hearing then.
to situate myself geographically, right now I'm in LA where I live. I should have said that in the intro, but I'm originally from London, where I went to school, grew up, moved to LA when I was 31, 11 years ago. And, but yeah, I took a break from running at university for, practical reasons.
It's hard to make time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite. You're also a copywriter.
I am. Yeah.
I want to get into that a little bit, but I think you have a good. You're able to put together these like little, basically like copywriting nuggets. I feel like these like collections of words, phrases, and stuff. One of my favorite phrases I've seen in your recent writing is "capitalism is not culture," and I wonder if you could break that down a little bit for people.
I think the first thing people think of when they hear the word culture is people. And first thing when they think of when they hear the word capitalism is money, like an abstract concept that we have to deal with. And that line in particular, I posted it on Instagram to, to be a little slogan in the comments, because it was after the Boston and London marathons in the spring. There were so many like race activations from brands, and everyone's like, oh wow, this is like capitalism has taken over the brands of, is this peak culture? It's like, there's peak capitalism maybe, like there might be too much stuff being sold to runners at these events, but that's not culture. Culture is us having a little chat, for instance, and talking things through, and maybe like how we engage with running rather than what we're purchasing.
I feel like, oh, go ahead.
People always ask me, Most, what's going on with hip hop? Now he goes by Yasin Bey, but Most, what's going on with hip hop? And he said, people talk about hip hop like it's some giant living in the hillside coming down to visit the people. He's like, hip hop is you and me. You know, if we're bad, hip hop's going to be bad. If we're smoked out, hip hop's going to be smoked out. And I always think of that when people say, oh, what's going on with running? You know, what's good? Trail running's this, trail running's that. And I'm like, I don't know. I went for a trail run this morning. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this doesn't seem like anything's wrong with it where I am. But I think that's why that quote struck me so much, because I think people talk about it sometimes and they're like, what they're commenting on is the capitalism aspect of it, or the industry or something like that. I'm like, well, yeah, but still, I'm like, 99% of it's me going running around the woods like an idiot. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still having
Pretty
fun.
anti-capitalist there.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that quote so much. So thanks for putting that together for me.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I pulled a similar, it might have even been the same slide, but you wrote that run culture can't peak. It can be overwhelmed by consumerism, though, and that really struck a chord with me because, I started my journalism career like outside of the running industry. I started at NPR, which is like not an extremely flashy part of the world. And then when I came to the running industry, I had never before heard of a brand activation, which is essentially business for, oh my God, you guys spent so much money to build a giant arch and throw confetti at random people as they pass through. And that is a really wild part of the running industry that no one could have prepared me for, but it can feel extremely overwhelming. And I do feel like there has been a little bit of like tension in running culture lately of like, how do we tease out? And I think you write really well about this. Like, how do we tease out like where the culture ends and the consumerism begins?
Mm-hmm. It's really difficult. Everyone has their own threshold for it. You know, some people who like to go run up mountains might have zero tolerance for that bullshit, you know, like none. They just like to go run. And so they land at an event and it's just overwhelming, you know? Whereas other people really lean into that stuff, you know? I am somewhere in the middle where I can be conscious of what I'm consuming and how much of it, I guess. And that's kind of what I recommend to everybody. Like, understand yourself, you know, like understand your capacity for being sold stuff. You know, I just watched the Black Mirror episode about where she starts speaking commercials like in home at her job and stuff like that. It's like that was perceived to be too much, and it is. But I think that level of what is too much has probably risen over time. You know, go back 50 years, it would have been totally alien to hear an advert about a drug and all its myriad side effects, you know, whereas now it's like something that we do, you know, something we just gloss over it. So it changes over time. And I think understanding that, you know, we've all been running for a long time, going to races for a long time. And I think the amount of stuff being sold to us has changed, only increased. So yeah. It's
potentially telling that it's worth citing an episode of Black Mirror in the discussion. That in and of itself, not an ideal indicator, maybe.
It's not. It is not. But I also think that running and running culture mirrors culture, society. Like it's indicative of where we are as a society. So, cool.
Can you talked a little bit about taking a break from running, and then, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, you got back into it when you were starting your career as a music journalist. And
Correct.
I think you've written somewhere that it was like the one time a day you weren't listening to music because you were listening to so much of it. Can you talk a little bit about that part of your career and how?
Yeah, sure.
How those things intertwined?
Yeah. You know, we hear about burnout a lot, right? And people suffering from burnout and recovering from burnout. I've always been my number one goal for my whole life has always been to never suffer burnout, because it sounds like it sucks. Um, when I was so I was working at a radio station in central London. There was a bar next door to the radio station, and there were also loads of parties. Like every week, there was an enormous party, like put on by the station or associated to the station. So there was a big culture of going out and drinking heavily every day. Plus, on top of that, I was freelancing for music magazines, and so that involved going to shows, concerts most nights of the week, and invariably having a few beers there as well. And I was like, this is too much. One time, I stepped out the door of the station, and one of my colleagues was there just waggling a pint of beer at me, saying, "Come hither, let's another Wednesday night at a pub." I was like, I need an excuse. And so I just said, I can't. I've got to go home. I'm training for a race. I wasn't, of course. But he accepted
Brilliant.
that. He accepted that immediately. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure. See you tomorrow." I was like, "Wow, is that easy?" Okay. But then I did follow through and signed up to a race. Just a 5K race. This was back in 2007, I want to say. And, you know, this is prehistoric times in regards to running, like they, there were
Before
no active,
brands roamed the
there were
earth,
no
before
activations at that
Tracksmith
race.
was a twinkle in the Charles's eye.
But it was a time when races were all charity oriented, and so I signed up to this race to raise money for charity. It was a breast cancer charity. The race was only for women. I found that out on the day, and went, and went home again. So that was cool. But then a year later, I went fully freelance, working from home, and that's when I was listening to music from waking up to going to bed. And again, it was too much. And so I started running during the day to break up the day. And I wouldn't run with anything in my ears. Just the sound of the river roding and whichever dog was choosing to chase me that day.
You specifically say that you started covering the metal and the hardcore scene in London. I'm so
Yeah.
curious what that was like and how that maybe informed your experience or even desire to write about run culture now.
Mm-hmm. I think as a genre, the hardcore scene is very community oriented. A lot of social issues brought up there. So that's the culture that I lean towards anyway. And so that was good. Yeah, when I was in New York early this year, my friend Dan, who was in hardcore bands in New Jersey, I was trying to explain to him like what I write about in terms of running. And so I was explaining, it's like, oh, I write about these issues, social issues and communities and run clubs and stuff. It's like, oh, so you write about running in the same way that you used to write about music. I was like, again, a light bulb moment. Thanks, Dan. Like framed my career perfectly. So yeah, I do approach it. I approach writing about running from that perspective, like I guess a punk rock perspective in that regard.
Yeah. Do you listen to music now when you run?
No, I still don't. I've
Okay.
maintained that little part of my running. I really like,
Okay.
I live in LA. I run streets for 90% of my runs, and so I also don't want to get run over by Tesla. Like,
That's
what?
my biggest fear
Like,
also.
you're up a mountain like, no, it's another fucking Tesla. It's
He died doing what he loved. Getting smashed by, yeah.
Getting smashed by a silent car.
How is LA great for you both as a writer and a runner as far as places to live?
As a writer, it's terrible because, rent and cost of living sky high. But also there's a wealth of inspiration. The run club scene here is enormous. It can be overwhelming in terms of how many are popping up every other week. But I'm a huge fan of them. When I moved to LA, I used run clubs to find my people to make friends. Some of the people that I met back in 2015 are to this day like some of my best friends. So LA has given me a lot in that regard. I never used to run with run clubs in London. It would have involved getting a 20-minute train into town, like a tube underground, but still it felt kind of counterintuitive. Like the people who drive up to the gym door to go to the gym, it's like taking a train to a run club kind of felt weird. So I never did it. I just ran on my own. But then when I moved here, I was like, oh, okay, I have no friends. So how do I make friends? I tried playing soccer, but those guys were all a bit too weird, which is funny, like considering I made runners my friend instead.
Because pot kettle.
Thanks for being weird, soccer guys.
Yeah, being super weird. But this is soccer in America, so they've got to be the super nerdy, the nerdiest ones.
Yep.
So it tracks. It does track.
Yeah, it's like the guys that were like a little too active for theater, but like not quite sporty enough for football.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something. Okay. Right.
So I feel like we're trail and ultra runners.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us are pretty solitary types.
Yes.
What would your pitch for run clubs be to those of us who are maybe like community skeptic?
It's a really good support network. There are some people at run clubs who I don't have their phone numbers, but I've known them for 5 years. It's that kind of thing where you can turn up at the run club and have a chat with somebody that you know tangentially, kind of, for a few years, and actually pick up from the previous conversation. You have one thing in common, right? You have running in common, and specifically that run club in common. So it's a great starting point. A lot has been made about the loneliness epidemic, and I genuinely believe that run clubs can be an antidote to that.
Yeah, it seems like when we're kids, we can make friends very easily by just deciding we like the same thing. And
Yes.
Adults, why is it so complicated? Like,
yeah.
I like running. I like model trains. I like woodworking. It's just like I've read books about this, and it's like, yeah, actually, we need to hang out. This this guy who's in his 40s. He's a journalist at I think the Boston Globe at the time, and his editor's like, hey, we need somebody in their 40s to write about why men don't have any friends. We think you're perfect for it. And he's like, really? Oh, I'm so insulted. And then he's like, I don't have any friends. But the book is like this examination. He like tries all these different things that I would have never tried, but they never have anything to do. And the groups he tries to get together keep kind of falling apart because they don't have any hobbies. In my opinion, that's what was going on. And so I think you just have like the cheat code for sure. It's like, let's go run.
There's this book. There are a few books about it. I've forgotten what it's called. But there's one about bowling, and
Bowling alone.
Bowling alone. There you go. Thank you. And it's like centering it around an activity is kind of crucial. Because even if it's at a bar, you're still centering it around drinking. So you have to center it around a certain culture, like whether it be run culture, drinking culture, bowling culture, model train culture, like something where you can like get deep into it and say, oh, this is really great. Like one of the first run clubs I joined in LA was the LA Craft Runners, who every week they went to a different craft brewery in LA and they ran 3 miles and then had we were trying out the different beers, the new beers, because that's something that we cared about. We wanted to try all these new beers. It was exciting, and so why not pair it with running? It's great. So I think you do need that kind of that fulcrum in the middle of the group to actually have something, because you have family, friends. The fulcrum is family. And so I think that's it is crucial.
It sounds like, well, I mean, as a writer, you're doing a very solitary thing.
Yes.
Or we all are. You're just sitting in a room by yourself trying to figure out what to write. You've used running as a way to access community. Are you also getting ideas from being out with other people and be like, oh yeah, you know what? That's something I should write about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always talking about running with whoever I'm with, whether they're a runner or not. So yeah, I'm kind of always making a little mental note, like, oh yeah, I should, if I can talk about it with somebody for a couple of minutes, I can write about it for 500 words, and that's kind of it. Uh, and so I think about, oh yeah, that was actually a good conversation. I should write about that, and maybe even reference the person I was talking about it with, to uh, give them the props.
Thanks
But
for
yeah,
this idea.
yeah. But it is very solitary. But I like that time to think, and I use my running to do that as well. Like I said, like 90% of my runs are solo. And a lot of that is figuring out my thoughts. Back when, taking it all the way back to when I was writing about music, again, I was like, okay, so I've listened to this record 5 times. Now let's try and figure out what I want to say about it on this run, basically. Or I sat down with a band for half a day yesterday, but they didn't really say anything. How am I going to make that interesting? Because a lot of musicians are really dull.
Yeah, I'm so yeah, you started your career interviewing rock stars, folks from the hardcore metal scene that
Yeah.
either were in London or coming through London, and
Hmm.
now you interview runners. I'm
Yeah.
curious what the overlap is.
Interesting people. I mean, there are a
Mm.
lot of really interesting musicians as well. Um, my kind of crowning glory was interviewing Mike Patton from Faith No More. Like, what a dude! Like, one of the true polymaths of our generation in the creative fields. And like, I kind of drew a line under that when I moved to LA. I was like, a new chapter of life. I'm not going to do that anymore because it also paid like shit. So, that was another
It
reason.
was super unhealthy and the pay was terrible.
Yes. um, but then, I did some copywriting work, doing work for agencies and, big tech companies and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't really scratching that journalism itch, what I like to do. I guess that's kind of embedded into my identity. Like, I'm a journalist. I like to tell stories. And so when you corporatize that, again, going back to the capitalism side of things, it starts to grate on me, in the same way that those brand activations grate on runners. And so it's like, what can I do? Like, I want to do something. So I had an idea, like, okay, I want to write about my identity as like a South Asian. My parents are from Bangladesh. So I wanted to write bits about that, but also about running. So I just started a Substack and did it. And it's like, okay, I've kind of run out of ideas about stuff about me, but there's loads in the running. Like, I just wrote a list of stuff, people I wanted to talk to, things I wanted to write about. And the list for the runners it didn't stop. So that was kind of it. It's like, oh, there's actually a lot of really great stories in the running world that I wanted to, um, tell, sure, but also explore for myself. Like, most of it was, I missed talking to people like Mike Patton. I missed talking to people like Josh Homme, who potentially in jest threatened to punch me. But it's like, that was fun. It's a story I get to tell, right? Um, but it's like, and I knew those kind of people existed in the running world. Like, there's a lot of you know uh, interesting people, for better or for worse. Some of them are deeply unhinged, and some of them are just doing really cool things. So I
I
knew that I could find
so
them all.
I so relate to having that journalism itch and like also desperately wishing I had been born with like a commercial real estate itch instead, like something that's like more productive or lucrative. Like if I have to have an impulse, why journalism?
Yeah.
Zoe's also going to threaten to punch you.
I've
Yeah,
punched a
that's-
few guests. There's a
Yeah.
reason
Oh,
we do
yeah.
this remotely now.
See,
Yeah.
it's all coming
Brendan's
full
like the
circle.
third person to host this podcast. I'm zooming through co-hosts.
Yeah, it's usually the co-host. So, but we can't really predict. So it's fine. Yeah. You spoke a little bit about about some of the copywriting work you've done, and your Substack has, I would say, like taken off. Like pretty well. Do you think having an understanding of both the journalism and that sort of marketing side of how to put words together to
Mhm.
engage people and get them to take action, has that really helped you grow your independent, your Substack?
Yeah, I think definitely. On my journalism degree, I learned certain skills. A lot of it was about brevity, like how you turn, like anyone can write a 4,000 word story. Like not anyone, but a 1,000 word story is pretty easy to write that. You don't have to edit yourself or anything like that. To turn that into a 400 word story is a bit more difficult, and that's like a 1 page magazine feature. It's much easier to do a 3 pager, right? And then to turn that 400 worder into a 20 worder and actually still get the message across, like that was the like, this is journalism. Turn a 1,000 word story into 20 words and still the reader understands what happened. And then in the marketing side of things, it was much more structured. I guess I learned about content pillars and like actually having like other ways to convey messages to the reader. So I write about four distinct things. Like sure, they were all under the umbrella of running, but I write about run clubs. I write about South Asian runners because that reflects me completely. I write a lot about women and the female experience in running because with a view of intersectionality, I'm like, women are the largest minority, even if women are not a minority at all. But it's like, if we cannot get women equal rights in the running world, what chance do I have? You know? And then I write about people that have done amazing things, which are usually ultra runners, essentially. So those are kind of the four topics I have. And so I settled upon those pretty early on at the beginning, and they have crossover as well. But that means that I understand what I'm writing about, which I think is key. Like, and then the fourth content pillar was I like to write about people that do amazing feats within running, which is usually an ultra runner. But I settled on those four because I think it's really important for the writer to understand what they're writing about, and then that confidence is like comes through in the writing, and so then the reader understands it. And if the reader is confident in what they're reading, they're much more likely to want to follow along. Is basically the idea behind that, and that's the side of it that I got from the copywriting, I think, and the brevity. Like I try to position them as 2 to 3 page features, magazine features, in terms of style and the length. So something that's very easily digestible. Because I know that we're on a podcast, but I don't love the concept of podcasts because it might take 45 minutes out of your day, and I'm not sure that you'll learn much more than you would do from a 10-minute read of mine. And so it's kind of respect for the reader as well, respect for the content consumer. I know that some people just absolutely fucking love podcasts, and
let's hope so.
Yeah, quite. No, they do, and it's proven. Like this is like, podcasts are the number one way to actually like build, recognition of the creator, essentially. As much as my newsletter may be blowing up, there'll be less recognition than if it was a podcast. I think that is scientifically proven.
Yeah, Derek Thompson, who writes for The Atlantic, he said this on somebody else's podcast interview maybe a year or so ago, but he said, people who, if they meet me and they say, oh, I've heard of I'm familiar with your work, it's because they've listened to the podcast. But if they're familiar with his work in some in-depth way where they can actually talk about something he's done, it's from his writing, which kind of is like, to your point, it is, it's like podcasts are more like a discovery platform as opposed to a real in-depth thing. And I don't know if that's because people are doing other things while listening to them or what, but
well, I think there's been a huge decline in recreational reading over the past 10 years. I'm talking like 50% decline, like huge. And so just fewer people are reading. I think part of that is because there are so many more podcasts. So in terms of ways to get the information, podcasts are much easier. You can listen to them in the car. I don't recommend reading while you're driving, for instance, but I think it's stuff like that. So, I'm very grateful that you invited me on this podcast to help more people know about me.
While we slowly kill reading as a past. We're writers. Like, to be fair, like, this is not what we want. Like, I do not actively want to be undermining like my absolute the majority of my career.
I think we all understand that as writers, our careers have been under threat for the whole time we've been doing it. So
yeah, it's like being a dinosaur catcher. Like, it was romantic when you started, but like maybe not the best idea in retrospect.
Yeah, but people are still reading. I mean, people are reading. Obviously, they're reading your Substack, and like, I have a friend who like refuses to. He's like a Patreon supporter of mine, but he refuses to watch anything I make that's a video. He's like, I hate videos. I never watch videos because I can't watch a video faster. But if you send me something to read, I read really fast. So
the name of your Substack is Running Sucks, which I think is an extremely accurate name and really captures how a lot of us, or at least how some of us, feel sometimes about running. And I haven't surveyed a lot of other hobbyists, but like, I don't know if a lot of beekeepers or crocheters have the same love-hate relationship with their hobbies. I'm curious what resonated with you enough to call your blog or your Substack Running Sucks.
It's my coaching philosophy. So I trained to be a coach, USATF certification 7 years ago. And it wasn't to become a coach. It was to kind of just learn more about running, essentially, just the curiosity side of it. And, but my life philosophy, I guess, is kind of lifting up from the bottom, like, so I think about the runners who don't love running and how to make them love running as much as I do. And so like, so you think this part of running sucks. So let's eliminate that and you'll be much more likely to go for another run. And that's kind of the crux of it. If you can remove the things you hate, you're much more likely to at least tolerate it. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you had named it running as unequivocally pleasurable, probably would be a much higher bar to entry for a lot of people.
Yeah. But there's also the Alex Zono, he's a designer. He makes these hats that say "I dig running," which is like such a lovely sentiment, and it's true. I dig running, but there's always the worry of being a little bit happy clappy and only focusing on the positives. That I think actually acknowledging the bits that you dislike is really important to moving forward and enjoying stuff. Brendan, you've written a book about this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called "I Hate Running," and you can too. Yeah. Well, I like in that book, I talk about how when I do speaking events, I ask people if they have kids, and I'm like, okay, yeah, how this many people have kids. They raise their hand, and like, raise your hand if you love your kids, and of course everybody keeps their hand up, and like, keep your hand raised if you like your kids 100% of the time. And like, no, but like if somebody keeps their hands up, I'm like, you're full of shit.
Like 100%. 100%.
It's like, I don't know. I think it like what you're saying too is like, there's many of us who things have to be hard for us to feel like they're worth it. And I think running is one of those things. Like anybody who enjoys the first 10 minutes of a run is like
superhero.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was going somewhere else, but I think that's better that you said that.
Like, I think it is so funny that our body literally has like multiple biological systems that, like, from an evolutionary standpoint, recognize how much running sucks. And then there's this whole cascade of chemical reactions meant to combat the actual reality that running sucks. Yes. And so if any of us do find our way into a place where we even temporarily find pleasure in running, it's because our bodies are like, this is terrible. Quick, make her think it's great.
Yeah. Let's remove this fight or flight from your body, because you're going to do this for another half an hour at least.
Yep.
Right. You talked a little bit about some of the interesting things you encountered as a music journalist and like the people you interviewed who are fascinating. What is the weirdest or the weirdest or most mundane copywriting gig or thing you've had to create?
Some of it was writing about the price fluctuations in oil and gas.
Wow. Do you remember anything that you
No,
Sounds
it was
graphy.
it was very graphy, and it was just for a corporate LinkedIn page, and
My God.
it's like, who is this? Who is this for? And who is reading this with interest? I understand. Like, sure, the price of oil has increased, but if you're someone who cares about that, you're probably getting those updates every day on your phone. And so why would you go to a LinkedIn page to read about the past week in oil price changes? Like, it's yeah, I'd say that one. And it was also like the whole oil side of it kind of rubbed up against me the wrong way, let's say.
and you're like, this agency is paying me this much money. That means they're making at least twice that. And
100%.
But then the client is paying them and they think this is worth it. It's kind of like bananas.
There's money out there, but it's maybe in the wrong place.
Yeah.
There's like
yes.
not insignificant part of journalism that is like so much less romantic that I maybe assumed. I kind of recently I got commissioned to write a piece for an unnamed magazine about cat behavior modification because they were looking for a science writer. So I had to write a 1,000 word piece about cat behavior modification, which is like pretty squarely outside of my typical beat. And the whole time I was like, I just feel like this is like gonna end up in like this realist, like this magazine that's meant to be like on a house that's for sale, and it's like a fake magazine fundamentally. Like, this isn't real. The thing I'm writing like can't be real.
It's crazy. And then you think, who's gonna read this? Who read this?
Who's gonna read this?
They probably have 100,000 people subscribing to that magazine because they're the only magazine that write about cat behavior.
Yeah. It's actually, you should hold on to that piece and submit it for some awards.
Could be a whole new beat for me, the cat behavior modification aspect of my career.
Substack. Yep.
It's gonna be my new Substack.
Yeah.
So
get 100 paid subscribers immediately.
Dozens of avid subscribers. So on your Substack, in addition to you sort of hit on those 4 content pillars, and you write a good bit about running culture. I almost feel like writing about running culture has like become its own cottage industry, enough so that sometimes I feel like running media can become like the Spider-Man meme of like 3 Spider-Mans like pointing at each other, and like running culture has almost become like the inability to define culture and like desperately gesturing at something else. But I actually think you do a pretty good job of defining culture. And I'm curious, like, why do you think it's important to talk about?
It's important to talk about because we're all engaging in it. And I think self-awareness is a positive trait. I think understanding where you fit into the world is an important trait, important thing to do. And yeah, like, I think over the past 2 years, there have been so many more running publications, even just on Substack. Like, there's loads. There was probably 10, 20 when I started in 2023, and now there's easily triple figures, easily. And I think I think everyone wants to find out the truth, right? Of their being, of their existence. And I think, framing it within running is a really easy way to do it, or like, it gives it a bit more focus, right? In the same way that, finding friends, and you're situating that around running, it makes finding friends more easy. Situating discussions around culture within running makes that an easier topic to talk about. So I think that's part of it. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah.
So it's just me rambling. But.
That's great.
So you have your book. You have a book that is available for pre-order now. Is it done? Are you done? I
handed in the final manuscript last Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that book come about? Did someone find your Substack and was like, hey, or what was the story there?
It was a bit of chicken, a bit of egg. I had actually, I only pitched my book to 2 publishers. I was very, you know, precise about who I wanted to publish with, and they were one of them. Didn't get a reply. This was in spring of last year, let's say April. And I had a conversation with the other one, and it wasn't quite right. We both knew it wasn't quite right for various reasons, and so that was okay. So, and this one got back in touch in August with a completely different book concept. I was like, okay, cool. It's taken 18 months from me initially pitching them to them coming back later that year with a different book idea, to fleshing out the brief, writing it, and getting it all together. But it's absolutely the kind of thing that I want to put out in the world. I wasn't interested in just writing a book, like I've been a journalist for 25 years, like this is my first book. I want it to be something of quality that actually has value. I think that's more important than ever, like actually creating things purposefully with like quality. So it's a book about running. The elevator pitch is it's a snapshot, a cultural snapshot of 21st century running culture. So it's across everything. So we've got run clubs, brands, female experience, trail, storytelling, celebrities. Harry Styles has got a mention in it, even before the Berlin Marathon, like
he's come up twice.
This is
week
the second Harry Styles appearance on the pod.
I mean, he's one of the most famous people in the world, so it makes sense. And he's a runner. But so yeah, I'm happy with the book. Still got like 8 months till it's released, so I don't know what I'm gonna do for that time. So
yeah, May
26th, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. So
ruminate on launching your thoughts out into the world.
Yeah. Get the elevator pitch down even better. But yeah,
so, This Is Running. Yeah. You can schedule all your book events in LA and New York for the next 8 months. That's
Yeah. But yeah, there's like, it's got themes of health and sustainability running through it. I've tried to, I want it to be a book that's like as good for reading as it is like sitting on your coffee table. So you can buy it performatively as well. I don't mind. Just buy it.
Still counts.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that's great. If you buy it, like sometimes I think about that. I'm like, well, people bought it. Did they actually open it? Do I care?
Don't care.
It's nice to reach people, but also
get the same pay anyway, baby.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Like you know this as well. Like you make beautiful looking books. You illustrate your books, Brandon, and it's great. They look good on the bookshelf, and they're also good to read. There's kind of everything. There are so many running books which look like shit, and I was really determined not to do that. So.
Yeah, hats off to you for not having yourself running shirtless on the cover, which I believe is like that's like the go-to for most
second
running
edition.
Books.
Second edition, all right. The paperback.
Actually, no, that's a marketing idea. Actually, is maybe like signed 5x7 of that. It comes with if you pre-order now.
Buy my book or I'll take my shirt off.
This has been a threat.
Right? Yeah. How was the experience of writing that as a concept, being like, okay, now I got this huge thing I have to, as opposed to being like, okay, what's my Substack schedule for the next few weeks or whatever.
I mean, I know how to write a book now. It was a crash course in learning how to do that. It really was. But that was kind of fun. Like a lot of my career can be traced through a path of me trying to do things that are different, and writing a book was definitely something different for me. Like I wrote one chapter in a book about 12 years ago, and that was like a 5,000 word assignment. So it's like pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
But this was more than that. So, and I was in charge of the whole thing. So I really want to think hard about having a through line that, so that it wasn't just 10 chapters, 10 separate chapters. I want it wanted you to be able to read it from start to end and actually it have a message, which I think it does. So, but I'll wait for the reviews to come in.
Can't wait to see how it ends.
Is it illustrations and photography inside?
It's photography. It's all photography.
Is it color?
Yeah.
Oh,
got
nice.
some really great, really great photographers in there. David Miller, Dave Hashim, two of the best. Like got one of the photos of Jasmine Paris on the Yellow Gate. It won the British Photography Award of the year, and it's in my book, and I'm fucking stoked about that.
I have a print of that sitting over here somewhere.
Yeah. So it looks great. The cover is great as well. Like it's impactful. The original version of the cover was purple and green, which I preferred, but let's not dwell on it. I wasn't in charge of that. That went to the front covers committee. So
they wouldn't let me be shirtless. They wouldn't let me use my color scheme. What's even the
point? I can make bookmarks though.
Yeah, you can. Yep.
So, okay, your book talks, I'm assuming it's a lot of these similar themes, really trying to identify like what running is, particularly at this kind of interesting moment where it feels like running is becoming closer to the mainstream, or is maybe even becoming mainstream. And I feel like particularly in trail, especially, there's like a lot of like not in my backyard of it all, of like, oh no, what happens if the thing we love and is so special and is this thing that I do privately by myself every day becomes this thing that other people know about and have access to or and exposed to. And I feel like you managed to write about culture in such like a generous and optimistic way. I'm curious, like, sort of where you might like challenge people who have that relationship to culture, and particularly trail culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one's taking that world away from them. It's more of an and. I think there are more like strands of culture that are existing now. Even the biggest trail races, which are not things that most trail runners take part in or even spectate at, even those do not have external sponsors. They're not sponsored by HSBC or anything like that. They're sponsored by Hoka. Like Western States is Sunto, the watch manufacturer, something like that. Like it's very specifically.
Also Hoka.
Is it Hoka? Yeah, sure. Okay. Whatever.
Not yet the Halliburton by Western States endurance run.
Exactly. So it's like it's still a small world. And I think on an individual level, you can still go run a trail. Like I love running through Griffith Park, and there are no sponsors there. There are regular Angelinos running around, hiking, walking their dogs, taking their kids around. It all exists, and it can exist in your own personal vacuum if you want it to. I think there's very little reason to panic, basically.
Yeah, I think a lot of sometimes that is maybe just like white people being, precious about the thing that they have, and then it's in the worst cases, it's always like, oh, what are all these new people doing here? And it's like, come on, man. I don't. Ugh.
But I don't think it's just any particular type of person. Like nobody likes the thing that they have and that they enjoy. They don't want it to change. Like take it back to bands. Like if a band has a different musical direction, like, oh, I like the demos. I like the first album. Like, sure, but you probably like this album if you gave it a chance as well. Like, but also you don't have to listen to the new album if you don't want to. You have the previous albums.
How much of all of this, all these things, like I don't want running to change, I don't want my favorite bands to change, how much of that is just us wanting to be young again?
It's just aging.
Gosh,
we're just like, oh, I'm so sad I'm old. UTMB is changing.
I liked trail running before it was cool. I liked trail running when I got it off LimeWire.
Yeah, it was better when my
to trail running on Napster.
Yeah,
it was better when my skin had more elasticity. I didn't have gray hair, right?
If you're not doing trail running on vinyl, it's like you're not even doing it.
Yes.
Oh, I hate vinyl. I think that's a big part of it, but so much of running is that, right? Like trying to recapture that youthful abandon where you used to run through the playground and for 45 minutes at lunch and then just sit down and ignore your teacher for the rest of the afternoon. Those are great days. And now running is difficult. Now running is like a serious exertion where, my calf is still hurting a month later and I don't know why. And neither does my PT. So,
running was better when I didn't know what an IT band was.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
So yeah, I think a lot of it is, rose tinted spectacles, looking back at yesteryear, thinking it was better, but it likely wasn't. America wasn't great before. It's like really racist. Like it's the best it's ever been, realistically. And music wasn't better before. Like now we've got all this music in our pocket that we can just listen to all the time. Running wasn't better before. There were fewer people doing it. And so, like from personal perspective, I can go run those trails and just text a few people and say, hey, who wants to go? Like tomorrow morning, and let's go exploring, So yes, I'll just tell them they're talking shit, essentially. No offense if you're talking shit, but you are.
I think that's the correct answer. Yeah. You just want to be young and you're just talking shit.
Yeah.
Which was the alternate title for this podcast. So I'm glad that we've come full circle.
Yeah. I guess we can quit now.
Yeah. We've reached the podcast singularity.
So I assume you're familiar with this research. It's very hard to find new music that you really love after it's like age 32.
Yes.
I always read it was 26. And
was it really?
I think it's even earlier than that.
Yeah.
Do you have albums you have found after that, whatever mark that is, that's like,
yes,
that are your like in your top, let's say top 10 that are still
that narrows it down.
Let's go top 25 then.
But yeah, I do. So I guess I was still, working very specifically in music and looking for new music until I was 30. So that's kind of ruins that concept already. But even since then, like I've got a small circle of very active music fans who I've known for a long time, who really love to find new music. So I'm listening to new records every week, and some of them I truly love. I listen to a lot of music, like more than the average person, like way more. I'm beyond 2 standard deviations from the mean. So I do listen to a lot of music. So yes, I have. Can I tell you what they are? The first one that springs to mind is like Caroline Polachek. Like she's a fantastic addition to my musical repertoire. Like the Phoebe Bridgers album, fantastic. Like I've listed no hardcore or metal at the moment because I think those genres are a bit stagnant. But there's some really good stuff coming up. There's one I'm listening to that's it's a heavy metal concept album called not Spirit World. Shit, what's it called? Give me a moment. This is awkward.
No, it's not. This is why we edit it. It's great. Yeah. We're not worried. Yeah.
Yeah. Just really enjoying the Phoebe Bridgers and Caroline Polachek, because I feel like Phoebe Bridgers came into my life like maybe the day that like my cerebral cortex like stopped forming, and it like really clung to the Phoebe Bridgers Boy Genius extended universe in a big way.
I think Phoebe Bridgers really resonated because it was their COVID album, and it latched onto all the depression of being thrust into a world where I was looking after my 3-year-old for the whole day while my wife was huddled in the basement working. I was like, this is great. I'm going to listen to this record a lot. But yes, if you're talking about heavy music, it's an album called Death Western by a band called Spirit World. And it is a cowboy concept album. So, I'm sure the guys at Satisfy love it.
Oh man, way to just dovetail that right in there. That's great.
We waited to get the Satisfy subtweet in there.
Are you familiar with there's this music writer, I would say she's a music writer, Nico Stratus. She had a book called The Dad Rock That Made Me a Woman, and it's I feel like I brought it up like 50 times this year, but it's a memoir. Each chapter is a different song. That I think her definition of dad rock is a little expansive. Like there's some stuff in there I was like, well, Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But she grew up as a young man in Whitehorse in Canada, in the Yukon Territory, the son of a glazier, a glass person who makes glass, and went through this whole like construction business, like, and feeling like, oh, I'm a woman, until I feel like she transitioned when she was like 35 or something.
Okay.
Wonderful book though, like,
Okay, cool.
amazing writing about music and just life in general. And I think it was the Phoebe Bridgers comment that made me think of that, because I think there might be one song in there. But yeah, I could be wrong. But
I was listening to a podcast about dad rock, and they referenced Wilco like almost immediately, or maybe it was on the radio somewhere. But yes,
yeah,
love a bit of dad rock.
Very core. Yeah.
And if you're a dad, and dad rock is pretty much anything you want it to be.
Yeah,
it's whatever rock you like.
Yeah, like the bands I've been listening to for 25 years, which still exist. I'm like, oh, these are classic rock bands now. Slipknot is classic rock. What the hell?
They're from Iowa, where I grew up.
Are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Des Moines. Is that how you say it, Des Moines?
Des Moines. Yeah. Well, if it's obviously a French word, but it's like not in the regional pronunciation. There's all sorts of stuff like that that's like really messed up. Yeah. So
I was looking for local pronunciation.
Des Moines. Yeah. There's a t-shirt company that makes all kinds of political t-shirts, and they have a shirt that says Des Moines. It's French for the Moines. So, yeah.
Factually correct.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, those are all the questions I have. Brendan, anything else from you? Any other music recommendations, curiosities, journalistic itches that have to be scratched?
Really just wait until we got to the music recommendations part. Now I'm done. And it's 2:59.
Might have to become a standing feature. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to ask everybody.
Just asking random people with no relationship to music. So what's your favorite hardcore cowboy concept album to date? As up till now?
If you keep asking people, somebody else will come up with Death Western. Like, and that'll be the golden moment.
Then we'll just quit. We'll just retire. Yeah. We're done.
Amazing.
At that point, you just get parachuted $1 million down, and that'll pay for your rent for the next couple of years.
That's why we do this.
That's exactly how it works. Yep. Everybody knows that. Yep.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. This was super fun to talk about music, running, culture, run culture, substacking, all of the above.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's a real pleasure talking. That was fun.
There's a race in southern Utah next April called the Zion Ultras. And honestly, the setting does a lot of the heavy lifting here. You're running on beautiful desert mesas adjacent to Zion National Park, which means you'll get those 1,000-foot sandstone cliffs as your beautiful backdrop while you're out there questioning your life choices in the best way possible. They have 5 different distances, from a half marathon all the way up to a 100-miler, and every course hits different vistas of the park. The 100-miler starts at 5 a.m., which means you get to watch the sun come up over the towering red cliffs, and if you're still out there later, you get the sunset too. A lot of bang for your suffering buck. It's the kind of scenery that makes you forget how much your legs hurt, at least temporarily. The race is April 11th at Ruby Rider Ranch in Apple Valley, and they're also offering charity bibs if you want your suffering to serve double duty. Registration closes April 8th. If you've been looking for an excuse to run through one of the most stunning landscapes in the Southwest, this is it. Check out ultrasignup.com for all the details and distances. Thanks for joining us on the Trailhead. If you love this episode, leave us a review, share it with your trail crew, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss an adventure. Give us a follow on Instagram at TrailheadPod. And you can reach us anytime at trailhead@ultrasignup.com. We'd love to hear your stories, questions, guest ideas, or just to say hi. And don't forget to check out all of the shows in the Ultra Podcast Network. We're building something special, and it's just for you. We'll see you every other week, right here on the Trailhead.